Hello viewers, welcome to my Doctor Who themed YouTube channel, Who Ventures. And in this video, I am reviewing Doctor Who Series 12, Episode 5, Fugitive of the Judoon. So we go straight into the titles, and then we see a watch close up. And with hindsight, these are all clues to what happens with Ruth. So we see a watch close up, and she's having toast and egg, and she's having a birthday breakfast. And the another clue that she's the Doctor is she doesn't want prezzies, just cake. Doctor loves cake. And then her husband, Lee Clayton, and she's giving out leaflets because she's tour guide, so she's giving out leaflets to her tour guided tour, and she meets a dog, and she says, "Hello, Reggie," and she gives the dog a little tickle. I thought that was cute, and she's really fun and bubbly. And then a tourist asks her a question, and the tourist is like, "Oh, boring," and then she says, "Yeah, but Harry Potter were filmed here," and the tourist goes, "Oh," and Ruth's a bit annoyed that nobody's interested in the history of the building. They're only interested in Harry Potter stuff. And then there's a knitting lady on the bench called Marcia, and she's knitting a lovely, what looks like could have been Ruth's scarf if the Judoon hadn't sapped it. But I love the scarf she's knitting, it looks gorgeous. And then Ruth goes to the cafe. I wish we'd seen more of the cafe, because in the preview pictures I loved all the menu items and looking at what was on offer in the cafe, and they had beetroot latte and stuff, but we didn't see much of the cafe. I just like the little things, really. I would like a whole episode of them just being in the cafe and ordering the different things off the menu. That would have been really fun. So the cafe man is called All Ears Alan because he's snooping on Lee Clayton because he's suspicious about him, and he's also got a crush on Ruth. So he's got this big dossier on Lee Clayton, and he's made a cake for Ruth, but all it says in the icing is "you can do better," because so I thought that was fun. And then we see the Judoon spaceship above the Earth, and I love the Judoon, they're always fun. And so they sat this location and scanned Earth and found a location of this fugitive they're after. And then we're in the TARDIS, and the Doctor's going around the TARDIS looking at all the gauges and fiddling with all the things, and the family's saying, "What, she's doing it again, what's she looking for?" And then and I love the new hexagon steps, the really nice formation, because you can put Ryan up here, Yazzie here, Graham here. I like that design. And the Doctor admits she's looking for the Master, and telling the fam he left a message for her. And then Yaz asks, where'd you go? And the Doctor says, "Home, on my own." And she's all sad. "Oh," and then she's like, tells her family, "because you lot asked too many questions." And she's like got her shields up against the fam a bit. And there's an alert in the TARDIS, and it's the Judoon warning in the TARDIS, and the logo comes up, and she looks through these binoculars. I love those, the binoculars in the TARDIS, that's fun. And she does the rhyme what she did when she was 10. There's platoon of Judoon near the moon. And then the TARDIS is going to Gloucester. And the Judoon have arrived in Gloucester and they're scanning everybody. And now, I'm not entirely sure, but when they was at Martha's Hospital, I'm pretty sure they just had Sharpies, because now they seem to have upgraded to bingo dobbies. They just stamp their hands. I love that. And then Marcia gets up from the bench with her knitting and goes to confront him. And so they scan it and they get the human English language from Marcia so they can speak in English. And then, because Marcia's got her hands full of knitting needles, they think that's a weapon. So they sack the knitting first of all, which is really sad because it's really nice colours and she's done a real good job on it. And then Marcia runs away and they sack Marcia, which is really sad because I thought she would have been funny if she turned out to be the Rani. That's what I thought when we saw the preview pictures. And then there's so it's about this feud between Alan versus Lee, and then they're in the cafe and talk, and the family are in the cafe, and then the doctor says, right, we've got to go over here. So the doc Yaz and Ryan, they run out the cafe, but Graham gets distracted by cake and he gets a cupcake and he says, oh, look at the state of that, and at the other cakes, and then he's zapped away and he's like, wow, what's happening? And then Ruth is all like, whoa, the aliens, real aliens. And then the aliens go in the cafe and he said, we're looking for the fugitive. And Alan is all, it's Lee Clayton. I've got a big folder of stuff here. And then he sort of gets a bit bolshy with the Judoon. And then the Zappian was like, oh, I liked him. And then the doctor's using a psychic paper to make a, to persuade the Judoon that she's really important and that she's the imperial regulator. And then Ryan's trying to sound tough too. And she says there's a platoon of Judoon near that lagoon. And then Yaz spoils it by saying it's more of a canal. It's like, yeah, thanks, Yaz. And then the doctors using local Earth law rule 12 that they need a third-party liaison arbitration. Then they realise they've lost Graham and he's been sacked aboard, and you can get excited now. It's Captain Jack. He's come back and he runs across to Graham because he thinks he's the doctor and gives him big snog, and I loved that. Loved it. I loved all that when he's hugging the doctor, who he thinks is the doctor, and he's hugging Graham, and he's like, oh, I've missed you, doctor. Oh, I love you. I love that bit. And then the doctor is at Ruth and Lee's house, and Lee's got all the bags packed because they're so they can run away, and Yaz asks him, why are your bags packed? And the doctor scans them, and the scan comes up as both human. And they say why the Judoon are pursuing them. And then Jack with the doctor is talking about how he's got this quantum scoop, and it was real good because Graham's like is talking about the doctor, and Jack was saying he needs to know, and Graham said not he, she, and Jack just used a preferred pronoun straight away without any fuss whatsoever, and that's how you do it. So I thought that was good. And then the doctor found this jewellery box, and Lee didn't want to look in it. And the doctor repeated it's very flat team structure again. And she's demanding to know who Lee is and that Ruth's looked after. And Lee's demanding that Ruth is looked after. And then the doctor says to the Judoon leader, says, woman to woman, and I thought I was cool. But then Ryan and Yaz are sapped away because Captain Jack scooped him. So Lee is keeping his promise to Ruth to look after her. So Ryan and Yaz turn up in this place, spaceshipy place, what Jack's sort of nicked. And he says, well, Silver Fox here said, said she, so it's not you, Ryan, it must be you, Yaz. And then Graham said, hope you got a receipt for that scoop. And Jack is all, seriously, 3 of you? I had a dream about that. And he's all like that. And then Commander Gat is found Lee, and he's got inside the fancy boxes his service medal. And I wrote, is Gat the Rani for some reason. And then Ruth, this gives Ruth these instructions on the phone. And the Judoon have them surrounded, and they say that Ruth is the fugitive. And then she's like fighting the Judoon, and she says it feels like instinct. So Jack is saying, he's all about, when she needs me, I'll be there. And he gives him the warning about the lone Cyberman. So that's interesting. And then Judoon switched strategy. So Lee Clayton has given her this text, follow the light, break the glass. And they drive to this, she remembers that the lighthouse she grew up in. And so they drive to this lighthouse, which looks really cool and looks like the light on top of the TARDIS. So they go to the lighthouse, and I was disappointed that Jack was leaving before he'd met 13. I thought, oh, he can't leave. So I hope he comes back soon, like really soon. So Ruth and the doctor driving to the lighthouse and talking, and doctor mentions never been a fan of growing up. I thought that was really sweet. And doctor's asking Ruth when she moved to Gloucester. And Ruth's hearing these whispers and seeing the visions about the lighthouse. And then the doctor's looking around the lighthouse. He goes up on the balcony, and that's really nice camera shot. I love that bit. And the doc's scanning around, and she sees, spots this grave, but it's not in that is sort of meant to be Ruth's parents, but there's no writing on it. So that's suspicious. And then Ruth sees the bell in the lighthouse, and she breaks the glass, and then all the energy comes out and is sucked into Ruth. I still didn't have a clue at this point. I still didn't understand. So, and then the doctor, I only sort of figured something out when we found that the doctor dug up the TARDIS, and it was a buried TARDIS. And then Ruth turns up and says she's the doctor, and then they go on board a spaceship, and Ruth's the doctor from the past, and she used the chameleon arch, and they have a bit of banter about their outfits. So at first I thought it's like, oh, don't be mean about her outfit, don't be mean about my rainbow girl. But and then it was a bit later I thought, yeah, it's like banter, isn't it? So it was cute. So we found out Ruth's the doctor from the past, but 13 doesn't remember being her, so it's very confusing. And the Jodie doctor is asking questions the Judoon, but Reef Doctor wants to shut up. Because Reef Doctor thinks she's like that she's got it all handled. She knows what she's doing, and Jodie Doctor is just trying to take over. And then she gets the Judoon to scan them, and they find that they're both the same person. There's a bit before in the TARDIS where they say, where they're talking, and they're both talking together, and said, "No, don't say that, shut up, same brain." And I thought that was good. I like that. And then over here, I'm so confused. And then Jodie Doctor gets dropped off, and she's back on her own TARDIS. And the fam talk about meeting Captain Jack, and they tell her about the lone Cyberman warning that he gave her. But she's like really confused about Reef Doctor, and she's like kind of sad, and the fam try cheering her up, which works a little bit, but she's still really emo this series. And then the alarm starts blaring in the TARDIS, which I think is a new, I don't know if that alarm that she's got now, I don't know if it's a new thing that she's engineered onto the TARDIS or what, but it's cool. And then we have, in the credits says, introducing Joe Martin as the Doctor. So it was amazing. After seeing this episode, I just thought, oh, what's going on? My brain was too confused to do anything. I was like, whoa, mind blown totally. I think Reef Doctor's really cool. Now a lot of comments I read has, well, not some of the comments I read are saying, how dare they have a doctor before Hartnell, it's totally disrespectful. And it's just not disrespectful at all, because nobody's diminishing his contribution to the show. He did, like, in real life, he did start the show, was the first actor to do the show, and that's still a really appreciated contribution, and he's still loved, and all the doctors are loved, so it's not disrespectful at all to have a new doctor, and it doesn't do down any of the doctors' like efforts. Everybody's brilliant and accepted. It's like, so it doesn't like it's not disrespectful to anybody. So I'm really excited to see what the story is with this. I've got a feeling that we're not going to get all the answers this series though, because I think Jodie said we don't find out everything this series, not all resolved this series. But it's really interesting. I love that, and I love how that I was happy to have a first female Black Doctor, and I think that's awesome. And I love her outfit. I'm not sure about that blouse though. It's really hard to draw, especially if you're fastidious about detail. But she looked really cool. And at first, after I was thinking, oh, she's scary and mean. But then I thought, actually, she makes me feel powerful and like get stuff fucking done. And I guess it's sort of like before she goes travelling with humans, and humans sort of mellow her out a bit. So I'm excited to see what the story is behind it. It was a really exciting episode. Very good, exciting episode. Very surprising. I think they've done so well at keeping all their spoilers, at keeping them all secret. So I hope you have enjoyed this review video, and thank you for watching. Yay!